pleasure of speaking with Mike Mandel this morning. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself to get the ball rolling?
Yes, first of all, thanks a lot for the invitation. I think I started very early, and I've been doing Shiatsu now for 30 years now. And I started my education with Thomas Nellison.
Teacher Thomas Nellison and you, I imagine, together cooked up this incredible project, which is still going after 27 years. Is that correct?
Almost 30 years ago, we started with the first clinic. He was always curious, what can we do with our hands, just with our hands. If you go into a clinic, you have to prove yourself. So that's the point, So if you work one-to-one, it's a process, and the process can take time, and sometimes, the changes can take a very long time. But if you work in a hospital, so usually after 10 treatments, you have to deliver at least something. So because, the medical staff, they want to see results. And so Thomas was like always, yes, we have to show results. And I think that was his ambition, and also to find out how Western medicine and Eastern medicine can work together, because it's always the question, you have the Eastern medicine, you have the Western medicine, but I think we should work together. So, and this was also like the idea, if we are in a hospital, so, what can we do together? And we started in the psychiatrics. This was our first clinic, and then we were just curious in which areas, can we support the people the most. I mean, you can do Shiatsu with any person. Any person can profit from Shiatsu, that's no doubt. But if you're in a clinical setting, we got humble over the times, humble in that sense, with some topics, Shiatsu works very well, and with other topics, maybe it's not good to be in a clinical setting. For example, if you work with drug abuse, I think it's a very interesting topic, but then you work for years, 1 year, 2 years. And so we were looking for the areas where we can contribute something within 3 months. And one of the projects was like we started in the children psychosomatics, and because Thomas has 5 children, I have 3 children, so I think we were always curious about children. And this was already more than 25 years now ago where we started. We are still in that clinic, and so I think. It's over 25 years, a cooperation between Eastern medicine and Western medicine. So I think we have to offer something at least, because otherwise you get kicked out of the clinic. And that's a very beautiful work. We've been in the rehabilitation, we've been in genealogy, and we've been in burnout clinics. But the children, I think the children, it's not good to say it like this, but we love it most.
I think it's fair enough, and there is a very special bond when you work with children, because my feeling is when I work with children personally, the change happens quite quickly.
Yes.
They're sensitive to change. Is that something that you've noticed?
Yes, definitely, because the energy system in a child, it's developing, so it can change very quick. But this is kind of an interesting experience we had in the hospital setting, because we start with the children, and the most clients we get with eating disorders. So the main focus is eating disorders, and then you start working, and after 3 weeks, yes, something changes, but the problem is. As we learned it, if you work with children, it's you need the parents, apparently, you need the parents because the children, they are not the source of the problem. They have the problem, they're just, they show the problem via their behavior, via their body, but the problem is somewhere else, and we don't target the parents, not at all, not at all. But it's like an energetic symbiosis. So the children till puberty time, I think they are very much connected to the energy field of the parents. So in the hospital, they are separated from the parents. They have a fixed stay, so they sleep in the hospital. So and then you can build up something, and then if they have holidays, for example, like it was now in Christmas time, and they go home and then whoop, suddenly everything breaks down again. So yes, of course, because you build something up, and then they come back into this energetic field, maybe where all the problems started. So then they go back to zero. So this can be very, especially in the clinic, this can be very, very frustrating because yes, it works, and then after the holidays, oh shit, we have to start with a zero again. So it was always our goal to integrate the parents in the work. And sometimes this works very well. So also in the clinical setting, we invite the parents to come to Shiatsu, and some take these possibilities, others don't take this possibility. And if we don't get the parents, we try to treat the medical staff, because the medical staff, they are the parents for the children, So one of the learnings we had from the work with children is you have to see the whole system and not only the child, not only treating the child, but to have a focus on the whole energetic system. And if possible, which sometimes is very hard, because in the hospital we have very many children with abuse, like violence and stuff like that. So come on, parents, we want to treat you. It's not working like that. So yes, it changes quickly, but it changes also back very quickly. But and then it's very nice. So because we've been there now for over 25 years. So how I see it now is like, if you do Shiatsu, it's like you plant a seed. You plant the seed in the systems, and maybe the seed cannot grow now. It cannot grow in this year, or maybe it cannot grow in the next year. But sometimes after 5 years, the seed pops up, and then sometimes you have a tree, and because it's. I think the work with children, it's about like giving them an experience, giving them an experience. Like, for example, I used to. We had a talk about the mountains now, and yes, I was a lot in the mountains, and sometimes you forget how nice it is to be in the mountains. You forget, and maybe you forget 1 year and 2 years, and then you go back to the mountains, and suddenly all the experience and all the feelings they come up again. And that's what we saw with Shiatsu. Sometimes even if you don't make a progress, you go back, no progress, you go back, and stuff like that. But after 5 years, you meet the person again, and yes, the Shiatsu, it really helped me a lot. And some of them start with Shiatsu, with the education, and I think this is like the nicest part, if they come to our school and said, it helped me so much 5 years ago, and I want to learn this. So it's a very touching work, very interesting work.
It's a beautiful story. You're touching on so many interesting points here, Mike. It's difficult to know which one to take up. But what I'm interested to know is,
because it's so big, if you touch a child, you touch the family. And also, I think it's I'm losing you. We have a bad internet connection right now.
Oh,
can you see me still?
I can still see you.
Yes. Are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
I think. Yes,
I can see you very clearly now. You're moving and everything. Can you hear me clearly?
Now it's good, but we had like a frozen picture for a minute, but it's okay.
Okay. So what you noticed was that when the children went back to their home environment, the whole process kind of could go back to zero, and you need to start it again. So I have two questions from there. One question regards the staff of the hospitals. Did they also notice this shifting backwards and forwards when the children touched home? Were they aware of this?
Yeah, yes, definitely. I mean, this is not a problem we see. They know it. Basically, they know it, and because in the hospital you get so many therapies. We are just one therapy of many therapies, and so also, if we are in a clinic, we have this regular meeting with the medical staff. So we just don't go in and do Shiatsu. So over a period of 10 treatments, we have at least have 2 meetings with the legal staff to share the ideas, you know, and to share our experiences, and also to share what we see and what they see. So this is a very common experience. This is a very common experience. So they know it, and but for them it was very, you know, it was surprising for them, because we are like, we go in and we do what we want to do, and we came up with, of course, they also have therapies, you know, where they try to integrate the parents. Of course they do, you know, they have group therapy, you have family therapy, so they're of course aware of this fact. But as I said, sometimes you have a very, very, very heartbreaking stories. If you read them, you know, it's just not possible, you know, what happens in the world. So this is very touching. And so they know if they go back, like in this case, if they come back, you know, we have to start with a zero again. And this is very funny, because you know, if we go there in the hospital with our students, we don't want to hear the story of the children before we treated them for 5 times. So this is very important. So we just focus on the body, you know, on the energetic system. But then you know, if you read the story and then you know that this child maybe was beaten for 5 years, you know, every day. It's like, you know, this is very hard for yourself. So, but if you treat it for 5 times, you already have a connection, you know, and then if you hear the story, you're already doing what you have to do. But otherwise, you're maybe too much shocked. And yes, so, and it's cool, because we add here, you know, with Shiatsu, we add something in this setting, because, you know, if you ask a parent to come to a therapy, the parents, you know, the message is, for many parents, maybe something is not wrong with you, so, because you have to come to therapy. And so many parents say, no, everything is okay with me. But if you invite them to Shiatsu, it's different, you know, because we are not like this therapy to do something with you. We just want to treat you. And so this is also kind of a feedback. So this is a nice approach, you know, to invite the parents to do something with them, but not with this, you know, maybe there's something wrong with you and we have to do a therapy. So this helps them also a lot. Yes.
That's an excellent way of using Shiatsu, I think.
Yeah.
Mike, was this, when you notice that the kids, after becoming, let's say, improving from the Shiatsu, and they go back to their home milieu, and you notice that they kind of slide back to their original position, is it then relatively easy to get them back on track and moving again, or is that very difficult to get them started again?
It depends on, you know, it depends on, I think it totally depends on the story and also on the child, you know. Of course, sometimes, and you know it, I think it's the same with clients, you know, sometimes because, you know, they already know the energy and they know the touch and the energetic system knows what's happening. So sometimes you just need one treatment and you can keep on going, yeah. But sometimes it's very interesting it's a very sensitive work, because sometimes, you know, with Shiatsu, what happens, you know, you support the children to get more in contact with themselves, which is very important, because like if you talk about eating disorders, you know, many eating disorders have this pressure thing in the background, performance to be good, and many eating disorders are like, you know, I just say no, you know, I refuse to take something in. So there's a big no in many cases. And then they connect with themselves, the children, so they feel themselves more, you know, and sometimes they get more sensitive, because if you work with trauma in children, you know, many children, you know, they try to block the trauma and they put it away, and then you know, you bring them inwards, so they have more connections, and then they're more sensitive. And if they go back, like in critical circumstances, they sometimes feel more, you know, and they ask more questions, and you know, so sometimes it's even harder for them if they get a Shiatsu, and so it's really tricky. So yes, one person picks it up very easily again, and the other one is like, oof, you know, and and we made a study once in the hospital, which was also very interesting, because there was one side effect. One side effect was like the children we treated with Shiatsu, they said, okay, they seem not to be so social anymore, so this was a side effect, and they said maybe this is a negative side effect, if you want to label it, but anyway. But then we had a talk with the staff, and this was very interesting. No, they are not, they're just more connected with themselves, and then they find out that they don't fit in this hyperactive setting anymore. So they just drop out of this setting just to stay connected with themselves. So you could say the side effect is that they are maybe antisocial, but it was more the opposite, they found more peace in themselves. If you then have a hyperactive group, you don't want to take part in this hyperactive group anymore. So yes.
Interesting, isn't it? When you look at something that seems to be negative, it can be actually a very, very positive thing that's going on.
Yes, and that's what the children said. Yes, I don't fit in this group anymore. Yeah, but because I feel myself more now. Yeah, this was very funny, and what came out of the study was also very interesting, because sometimes also with children, you have eating disorders. What can be the results? What do you want to measure after 3 months? They are not cured. That's a fact. And this came also out of this study is like Shiatsu helps the children to all the other therapies worked much better if children get Shiatsu, So and it's also like I think children you have to see always children in the setting, and this hospital is also a setting, and if they get Shiatsu, they are not so nervous anymore. They're more relaxed. They're more open. They are not so shy anymore. So all the other therapies have easier work. So everything comes together then, and this creates maybe then a very good result.
So this is a synergistic effect that you're talking about.
Definitely, because also. Eating disorders is one topic we have, and the second big topic is hyperactivity. Hyperactivity is a big topic, and then you have all the therapies with talking and group play, and if you have a hyperactive children, it's not possible. So, but after Shiatsu, and this is also what we hear from the medical staff. You can feel it with the children, like 1 or 2 days after they got Shiatsu, they are different. They are different. They are much more approachable. Yes, they are much more relaxed, and everything runs smoother actually. But then it's it's very diverse, because you have eating disorders, then you have the hyperactivity, then you have like the auto aggression, all the cutting and stuff like this, and so you have many topics in one hospital. So it's it's
and yet what I'm hearing from you is that by keeping it simple, just doing regular Shiatsu from what is there, you're able to produce results in every single situation.
Yes, so basically I think it's also, it's you could go more into detail, concerning diagnostics and meridian energetics, but I think that's not so important with children. So because children, they just want to be accepted. So and accepted and loved. I think that's all they want. And I think especially what we do in Shiatsu, just to be neutral, and the touch comes from the heart, and just if they get Shiatsu, they kind of feel accepted. They don't have to do anything, and someone is there caring for them. And we had this in many feedbacks, like they were saying it was the first time, where I felt someone really wants to touch me in a loving and caring way. And if you hear that, you know, it's like, oh Jesus, and I think this has the most benefit. Yeah, really, this has the most benefit. Yes, just a touch from the heart, so healing.
Phrase unconditional love is resounding through my being at the moment, Mike, as I'm hearing you speaking.
Yes, because you know, children go to the heart, and basically that's it. And also, I think one side effect is if you work with children, you always work with your own inner child. And yes, that's what's happening with our students and with our practitioners. You know, you treat the children, but you get in contact with your own inner child. And if your own inner child has been hurt, you know, then this also, of course, pops up in this work. And so I think sometimes the healing effect is stronger on the practitioner side than on the children side, but that's also very very good, because then, you know, both raise maybe their frequency and their energy. But anyway, I think it's I was talking about results, you know, and it's easy to create results if you work in the rehab, for example. You know, if a shoulder is like this and after 10 times it's like this, yes, of course, doctors believe you. But in the children psychosomatics, they see the importance of the body, you know, of the body, and also they see the importance of the touch. So maybe in the children psychosomatics, it's not so much about producing results, and I think it's creating a good feeling for everyone, also for the medical staff, and no, they're very open-minded people. The medical staff is really good. It's really good, you know, and they're very curious, and they often accept, you know, oh yes, very interesting what you are telling us. You know, we've never seen it like this, and so it's a very nice cooperation.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. What I was very pleased to hear you point out, Mike, and make so clear is that when we do Shiatsu, we benefit from it as practitioners in so many different ways, on so many different levels. And I think that's something that we tend to somehow try to suppress because it doesn't sound honorable or something, or sounds egotistical. I'm not sure what people have against it, but for me, it's one of the huge benefits of Shiatsu. We benefit so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think from every session, of course, but especially with the children, because you know, yes, as I said, they go straight to your heart, you know, and it does something with you, and also what we experience. I think, you know, if a child is thankful, you know, and it can express its thankfulness, you know, it's like, wow, this is like, maybe we lost this ability as adults, you know, like to really be like thankful. I mean, many Shiatsu clients are, but if a child is thankful, you know, this changes something in you, I think, you know, like, oh yes, and nice, and you said it. Maybe this is what Shiatsu is about, you know. I don't know.
Mike, I really want to thank you for opening up and taking time to share all these beautiful experiences with us and describing them so clearly for us.
Thanks.
The clinic continues for many years, and this symbiosis, this holistic, wonderful cooperation which I'm hearing about, I hope it continues for many generations to come.
We hope so. Yes. we keep it going. No, too much benefits from both sides. I mean, you know, one of the aspects is why we went into the hospital is like, and this happened not only once. For example, if you have been in a hospital for such a long time, and sometimes you have to say goodbye. I don't know. Maybe you don't find the people anymore. But we had many hospitals, they said, oh, Shiatsu was so good for us. We try to employ a Shiatsu practitioner now. So because we've been in two children clinics, and one we had to leave because we didn't have enough students to do a regular basis there. But then they said, okay, we need Shiatsu. So they just looked for a practitioner, and they have a Shiatsu employee. then. So I think this is also very nice, just let it spread into the hospitals, and it can grow, I think. Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. Mike, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Chris, for the invitation. Thanks a lot.
We'll meet sometime soon, I hope.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.